Hi, my name's Callie and thank you for joining me on this video, Introduction to Refutation. This is a video that's part of my Novice series, Go Fight Win, to teach novices about policy debate. So let's get started. Again, my name is Callie Chappelle. I'm a debater for the University of Michigan, and in high school, I debated for Traverse City Central High School. I'm a 2N, 1A, and my fun fact is that David Height is my spirit animal. All y'all debaters who are watching this video will giggle a little bit inside. Alright, welcome. So, to make the most out of these videos, you should take notes and rewatch bits you need re-explained. This is the first video where we talk about kind of the nitty-gritty of debate, so it's totally okay if you're a little bit confused, just go back and rewatch it. And if you still have questions, comment or email your coach. Hopefully we'll have worksheets and or supplemental materials that go along with the video, so check in the video description to see if I posted those, and if I haven't, you could definitely get on my case in the comments, and I'll try to do so as soon as possible. You don't need to memorize everything in the video, but what we want you to do is at least be familiar with everything because it's a building process. You have to understand certain concepts to be able to graduate onto larger concepts. And finally, your coach may like things differently. This is not the end-all be-all. It's not my way or the highway. If you'd like to debate a different style or if your coach has different things they want you to focus on, definitely default to them. Don't default to me. This video is just a starting point. It's not an end point. So, this video is about refutation and debate. So, in a debate, debaters make both their own points and are responsible to responding to arguments made by the other team. This is why debate is different than other speaking contests like extemp or I guess public forum. They have a little bit of refutation, but policy debate is really where we get to go at each other in an organized way, and that is why we have refutation. So, what is refutation? Refutation is the art of responding to arguments. In debate, you only have two responsibilities. This is going to get complicated real quick, but it all boils down to two things. First is making your arguments, and second is responding to all, capital A-L-L, of your opponent's arguments. So, that sounds pretty easy, right? But it actually can be a little bit tricky. But you'll learn that we have a very set process that we go through to make and compare arguments. So, it's really okay. So, here's the secret to winning every single debate. You have to respond to all your opponent's arguments while still proving that your argument is better. So here's an example. If you're wondering who Mike is, that's the name of my high school partner. So you'll see he comes up in a couple of our examples. If you have seen pictures of us, he's the guy with the really huge hair, and he's really tall. So here's an example. Me. We should go to McDonald's because I'm hungry. Mike. We should go hiking instead. Going to McDonald's is a bad idea because 1, McDonald's is unhealthy, and 2, the seats are gross. That's funny because Mike loves McDonald's. Back to me. We should go to McDonald's. You say it's unhealthy, but you can buy healthy choices there, which is number 1, and you say it's dirty, but you can clean your seat, number 2. We shouldn't go hiking because I'm hungry, and if I don't eat, I'll die. Seriously. So, who do you think won this argument? If you said Callie, you'd be right. Just ignore me being melodramatic at the end. So why was my argument more persuasive? So, here's some reasons. I presented an action to take. I gave a reason why the action is a good idea. I responded to all of my opponent's arguments in an organized manner. And I gave a reason why not taking that action was bad. So, here's a real-world example about persuasion from The Princess Diaries. I know this movie's a little bit outdated, but it was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, so just bear with me. So remember at The Princess Diaries when at first Mia Thermopolis has to go in front of the class and she's stuttering and she throws up and she just is really scared, and then think about her speech at the end of the movie when she is Princess Mia. Which speech was better? Obviously the one at the end of the movie because she was confident and she was organized and she was articulate, and that's what you need when you're in debate. So let's practice smart refutation. Here's an activity you can do right now. So on a piece of paper, grab a piece of paper out of a notebook, out of a folder, whatever, and write down the argument below and refute each of the points individually. Here's the argument. Dogs are better than cats because A, you can play with dogs, B, dogs are man's best friend, ignore the gendered language. If you're a woman, substitute dogs are woman's best friend, and C, dogs are cuter. If you have unrelated reasons about why cats are better than dogs, save those reasons until after you have responded to every argument. So seriously, do this. Write down, draw a line down your sheet of paper. On the left side, write the argument that's in red on this slide. On the right side, write your responses to each of those arguments. Pause the video. Do that. Don't come back on until you've done it. I know you haven't done it yet. Do it. Okay. Now I'm going to assume that you've done it and we're ready to go. Okay. So, here's how I refuted the points. And you should compare my reputation to your reputation. So, dogs are better than cats because A, you can play with dogs. B, dogs are man's best friend. And C, dogs are cuter. So, here's my response here on the right side. Dogs are not better than cats because you say you play with dogs. But you can play with cats too. That is not a reason why dogs are better. You say that dogs are man's best friend. But I say that cats are women's best friend and women are better, obviously. And you say that dogs are cuter, but I say that cats are cuter than dogs because they purr, whereas dogs only bark. So this is a funny example, but this is how you organize refutation. You respond to each of their arguments in order. That's the big takeaway. Just kidding. I actually like dogs better. This picture is a picture of my dog who actually caught a squirrel. And I actually like to send this picture to other teams who are debating my team because I tell them that my team is like my dog and their team is like the squirrel, but not everybody's quite as violent as me. But anyway, but for real, sometimes you have to argue against what you truly believe, and that's just the nature of debate. So, let's do the same thing with this one. Refute the following argument. Immigration reform is a good idea because A, we need more highly skilled workers from other countries, B, we need to increase the number of people who will accept low-paying jobs in the U.S., and C, we need to help other countries by allowing immigrants to send money home to their families. So, just like the last one, draw a line down your paper. On the left side, write the argument in red, and on the right side, you should write your refutation. So pause the video and do it. Okay, I'm gonna assume you did it. Here's the next one. The United States should increase non-military exploration and/or development of the Earth's oceans. Here are the two arguments. First, if the U.S. develops the oceans, we'll be able to implement technologies that can help stop climate change. And B, the oceans may provide new markets and opportunities for U.S. economic development. This one's a little bit harder than the other ones. But by the end of the week, by the end of the year, and definitely by the end of the time you're debating, by the time that you're done debating the end of this topic, yeah, that's what I wanted to say, then you'll have lots of ways to respond to these arguments and you'll totally be ready. So you can try it or you can wait. Either way, you learned something that you'll learn a lot about exploration and or development of the Earth's oceans. So let's talk about persuasion. Which argument do you find more persuasive? So I'm going to start with Mike. We should order pizza because 1, it's really delicious, and 2, it can be delivered quickly, and 3, I love Italian food. All of those things are actually true about Mike. Here's my argument. I love Italian food, and I love delicious food, and yeah, maybe we should order pizza because I am super hungry. Which argument did you find more persuasive, and why? Mike's, obviously. Why? Because it's more organized. Look at this messy room. You could ask yourself, where did I put my socks? I could have sworn I put them on the dresser. Here's the debate equivalent. Did I answer that argument? I could have sworn I said that on the case. If your arguments are not clear and organized, then you'll never be able to remember A, what you said, and next, where you said it. These are key things when you want to win a debate. So, why does organization matter? Because it makes your argument more coherent, so it's more persuasive. Because it makes your argument easier to understand for the judge. Because it makes your argument easier to write down so the judge remembers what you said. P.S. A debate's like 2 hours, so they're not going to remember every word unless you get them to write it down. And it makes it easier to notice if one part of your argument is not responded to, so you can exploit what your opponent forgot. Don't be easy on them. You've got to be the hard person. You've got to be the meanie in the debate round. Like, not actually acting mean. But you have to be the person who just doesn't take no for an answer and goes for all of their weaknesses. Gotta hit them when they're down. Sometimes you gotta do it. So, how do we organize our arguments? We use a special method of refutation called line-by-line debating. You should refute every argument this way. So, here's a picture of some elderly people that we, gosh darn it, love doing line dancing. Line by line is not line dancing. There are major differences. Line by line in general does not involve the elderly. It also doesn't involve a lot of bodily movement. Line dancing, on the other hand, does sometimes include the elderly. It also includes bodily movement. However, the things that are the same about line by line and line dancing is you dance in a line, and in line by line, you answer arguments also in a line down your flow. So, yeah, that's why I've got this cool visual aid here. So, how do you do line by line refutation? 4 steps, super easy. First step is you say, they say, and then you say their argument. The second step is you say, but I disagree, because that's step 3. And then you have to try to show that your argument is better because one of these reasons or more. First, better reason. Second, you have better evidence. Your argument has historical or empirical support. It has greater significance. Pretty much just BS your way around why your argument's better. And then step 4 is therefore, and then you have to give a reason why your argument matters more. So not only do you have to say why your argument is, like what your argument is, but you also have to say why it matters, right? And you do this for every single individual argument, each subpoint of their overall argument. So for example, back when we were doing the cats versus dogs, the individual subpoint, cats are cuter, require a they say, but I disagree because therefore. Seriously. So make sure you've got this written down because we're gonna hit it hard on the next couple slides. So, here's some practice. Refute the following arguments using the line-by-line format. 1. McDonald's is the best argument in the world. 2, video games should be banned because they make teenagers violent. 3, school should save families money by requiring uniforms. Okay, so do this. Write down these arguments, refute them using the line-by-line format, and write it down. If you bring this to your coach or to your teacher and you show them that you've done this and say what it's from, I'm sure they'll give you extra brownie points or real points. So, how to have swag doing this. So, how do we have swag here? Well, there are lots of ways to do this to look cool while refuting. There are 3 big ways. First is a they say, we say method. That's the one that we just talked about. Second is the off the neg second arg, which we'll talk about. And third is embedded clash. Embedded clash is the best because you save time and it sounds better. And if you learn it now, your life will be easier. But the other methods are good and they're a lot easier. So I personally would recommend that you learn those first and then transition into embedded clash. So we'll talk about this first. First is the lawyer. I've characterized each of these for you. So the lawyer is the they say, we say. So this is the method that you just learned. The you say, but I disagree because therefore method. So this is the Emmett Forrest, if you will, from Legally Blonde. You can tell I really love Legally Blonde. The second version is the engineer. So that's the off the X arg. So that's the Lucius Fox, if you will, if you're fans of Batman. Side story, one of my best friends loves Batman. I got my wisdom teeth out a couple years ago, and when I was recovering from getting my wisdom teeth, he brought me a bunch of ice cream and we watched Batman. Yeah, people called him Batman when he was a little kid. It was really cute. So, this is how you do it. Instead of saying they say and stating their arg, just say off the X neg or af argument. So, for example, if you're answering the second neg argument on the disadvantage, you'd say off the second neg arg, then give your answer, and then you still have to explain why you win the argument, okay? So it's the off the second neg arg or off the X location, and then answer, and then explain why you're winning the argument. Okay? And then the last part is embedded clash. So I'm going to call this the poet because it's the hardest technique to master. So here's a picture of T.S. Eliot, one of my absolute favorite poets. He wrote The Wasteland, and he also wrote The Hollow Men, which is my favorite poem ever. And instead of explicitly saying what argument you're answering, you just assert the opposite of what they said in the correct order. So we'll talk about this more in the future, but it just saves you a lot of time because you're just saying your arguments. You never have to state what their argument is or what the location of their argument was, just in case they mess up flowing. So get good at one of the 2 other strategies, and then you can, quote unquote, graduate to doing embedded clash. It's hard. It's something that I still struggle with. So just as long as you have a strategy that works to begin with, you're already 90% in front of the learning curve. So let's review the process one more time, because this is so incredibly important. Debate is not just making an argument. It's also about defending an argument, because this is the process of debate. Sometimes this is what separates debaters from arguers. You know those arguing people. They just always argue with you. You never get anywhere. It's because they don't know how to defend an argument. So you might be good at arguing, but you have to learn how to use it in a debate round to make it effective. You have to learn how to debate. Debaters always beat arguers. Wow, it's a hard word for me to say. Organization, line by line, and the refutation process causes you to win more rounds. Organization wins ballots. Star that arg, circle that arg. That's what I want you to get away from here. So, how do you win a debate? You win a debate if, at the end of the debate, you prove the world would be a better place if the judge does what you say. So, that sounds pretty weird. Let me give you an example. So the AF says, we need to increase aquaculture to create a new industry to save the U.S. economy. And the neg says, if we spend a bunch of money on aquaculture, we can't spend money on space, which allows us to stop asteroids from hitting the Earth. So the AF wins if they can prove that U.S. economic collapse is worse than an asteroid collision. And the neg wins if they can prove that an asteroid collapse is worse than U.S. economic collapse. So you want to make your world the one where less people die. So, do these impacts sound silly? Believe it or not, impact scenarios, like crazy extinction scenarios, like asteroids and economic collapse, actually make debate really fun. So, here's a mushroom cloud from a nuclear explosion. Okay, the last thing that I want you to get out of here is speaker points. So at the end of the debate, the judge not only picks who wins the debate, but also gives each debater a speaker ranking based on speaker points. So the key terms here are speaker ranking and speaker points. So speaker 1 is the best debater in the round. Speaker 4 is the worst debater in the round. So points, speaker points range from 0, which is you're just terrible, like no one gets a 0, to 30, which is the absolute perfect and the most perfect debate ever. But most judges give points for between 26, which is like the worst debate they've ever seen, and 30, which is perfect. Judges rarely award 30s. I think I've only gotten 130 in my entire debate career. So here's an easy chart for what most speaker points mean. So 26 means you need to practice or prepare more. 27 means your speech is like mediocre or terrible. 28 is you're in the upper level of debaters or like you're doing pretty well. And 29 is one of the best speakers I've seen this year. So, what should you have learned from this video? 4 things. First, what is refutation? Second, why is refutation important in debates? Third, is strategies for effective refutation, and fourth are what speaker points are. So if you can look at this list and you feel comfortable answering all of these questions, then you are good to go. If not, you should go back and review. So thanks for watching and hope to see you in the next video. Bye.